Joining us now, former Marine captain, senior fellow at Defense Priorities, Gil Barndollar, and also here, Iran expert Karim Sajapour. He is a senior associate at the Carnegie Endowment for International Peace. Captain, I just want to go back to Tuesday night. It was an uncertain time. The U.S. and Iran on the brink of war. Iran says it was a mistake, thinking that they shot down a cruise missile when instead it was a passenger commercial air flight. Is this indicative of just how close the situation could have spiraled out of control, the ramifications of Iran counter-striking against America?
Yeah, I think this is pretty straightforward. I mean, it was incompetence by the Iranian Air Defense Forces, getting jittery at a time of high tensions and shortly after, a few hours after the missile strikes. I think that is what it is, and they've now admitted it and dropped the pretense that it was something else. But it certainly shows you what the outcome of these tensions are, of this escalation to the brink of war. We can call it a state of war if we want, but obviously it's not a full-blown shooting war. So if anything escalates further, we're going to see this and far worse, certainly.
Karim, what will the geopolitical ramifications be for Iran after they've now admitted to shooting down a civilian airplane with 176 people on board? People from Iran, people from Ukraine, people from Canada and other countries.
Well, the Iranian regime has had an incredible change of fortune, because last week there were hundreds of thousands of people protesting on their behalf in solidarity with the assassination of Qasem Soleimani. Today, after the announcement that Iran was indeed responsible for the bringing down of that passenger plane and killing 176 people, there are now tens of thousands of people protesting throughout Iran. And I think the strategic implication is that it may constrain Iran's ability to avenge Soleimani's killing and retaliate against the United States, because they've now lost popular support, and people in Iran are really tired of this cycle of violence and retribution, because they realize that they oftentimes pay the highest price for it.
Gil, or Captain, I should say, right about that time, multiple airplanes took off from that same airport in Tehran. So, I mean, it's interesting that those flights were not impacted. How plausible is it that this 737-800 could have been mistaken for a cruise missile when others were not?
Oh, I think it's plausible. I mean, the Iranian forces, these are probably conscripts. The air defense falls under the IRGC, but that doesn't mean it's an elite force by any stretch. I think it's totally plausible that it was a mistake. I wouldn't put a broader conspiracy theory around it or anything like that. I think it kind of is what it is at this stage.
Karim, you mentioned how in the wake of the killing of General Soleimani, we saw so many scenes like this of thousands of protesters outraged and mourning throughout Iran. And then today, following Iran's admitting it downed that Ukrainian airliner, CNN obtained video of the thousands of anti-government protesters now in front of the former American embassy in Tehran. Who are these people, and is either side more indicative of the Iranian people at large?
Well, Iran is a polarized society, Anna, but I think for many of your viewers, what's important to note, if you've never lived under an authoritarian regime, it's easy for authoritarian regimes to mobilize hundreds of thousands of people. You're incentivizing people to go out. Oftentimes you're coercing them. And certainly there was genuine popular solidarity when Qasem Soleimani was killed. But the anti-government protesters are really risking their lives and their livelihoods by going out into the streets. So I think in many ways, tens of thousands of people protesting against a government, against an authoritarian regime, is oftentimes more noteworthy than a regime mobilizing hundreds of thousands of people on its behalf.
Karim Sajapour and Captain Barndollar, great to have you both here. Thank you for taking the time.
Good talking to you. Thanks.
Thank you.